metalheads, and welcome to episode 40 of the Harsh Vocals Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Corbett, and with me is my good friend, Christian Renner. How are you doing today, man?
Not too bad. A little bit early than usual for us to record, but it'll work.
Yeah. We normally record in the evenings, but today we're doing it in the morning, which is a totally different vibe. I feel more alert and more awake than I usually do after a day of work, so hopefully this will be a more energetic episode than usual. But before we get into talking about all the albums we've heard from the past couple weeks, we want to take a minute to talk about Ozzy. When we released our last episode, it was a few days after his death, and I know we were talking about things like his concert and whatnot. We didn't realize we were going to release that episode after his death. It's just sort of how it worked out. But Ozzy obviously meant a lot to a lot of people. He was the godfather of heavy metal, essentially. And Christian really wanted to say something special in regards to how he feels about Ozzy. So he typed up a eulogy. I know it's not really anything official, maybe even is a little out of the norm for what we do here, but hopefully you guys appreciate it. Christian's going to kind of put his heart on the table and let everybody know how he feels. So I'll let him dive into that before we move into the music.
Alrighty. Well, like Justin said, when I first heard about Ozzy dying, I was like, oh man, that really fucking sucks. And then the more I thought about it, it's like, I was 12 years old when I first heard Ozzy. So this guy's been in my life for 44 years. There's plenty of people that I've known and lost contact with throughout that time, but Ozzy's always been there. Whether I continue to be a fan in the modern era, not so much, but I could always go back. And, he always meant more to me. And at least with this delay that we've had, I've rewritten this thing probably 30 or 40 times, and it hopefully this just conveys how I feel about it. So I decided to do just like as if I was speaking at his funeral and to do a eulogy. So here's what I got. Brothers and sisters of metal, today we gather to honor the immortal Ozzy Osbourne, the man who taught us to scream at the moon, bite the heads off of our fears, and live life louder than a Marshall stack of full blast. To those who didn't understand him, he was just that crazy train guy. But to us, the denim and leather legion of the 80s, he was the voice of rebellion, the patron saint of misfits, and the unhinged prophet of heavy metal. Ozzy didn't just sing songs, he gave us anthems for the outcasts, the wild hearts, and the kids who never fit in. And though he may have finally gone into that eternal night, his madness will never die. When Blizzard of Oz exploded into my life, it was like a lightning bolt from the underworld. That album wasn't just music, it was a gateway drug to a world where I was thanking the gods for bombs, and satanic panic couldn't stop me from cranking Mr. Crowley until my parents banged on the bedroom door. Ozzy's voice, that banshee wail of chaos and emotion, cut through the plastic pop music of the 80s like a razor blade. He proved that even after Black Sabbath, he was unstoppable, a solo force of nature with Randy Rhoads shredding beside him like a fallen angel with a flying V. Those riffs, those lyrics, that unapologetic insanity, they simply shaped who I became. Let's be real. Ozzy should have died 100 times over. The drugs, the booze, the doves, the bats. The man was a walking, mumbling monument to excess. But that's why we loved him. He wasn't some polished rock god. He was a gloriously messed up underdog who somehow outlived every bad decision. Watching him stumble through the Osbournes in the 2000s, we laughed, but we also saw the truth. Ozzy was always real. No pretension, no act. Just a dude who loved Sharon, hated airports, and somehow became the world's most beloved metal grandpa. Even when he was mumbling about goddamn bees, he was more metal than anyone half his age. And now as the final curtain falls, we raise our horns high. Ozzy's music wasn't just a soundtrack, it was a lifeline. When life felt like a suffocating endless grind of some lame-ass dead-end job, we busted out Bark at the Moon and felt invincible. When heartbreak hit, Mama, I'm Coming Home was our go-to. Ozzy gave us permission to be weird, to be loud, to be unafraid of being ourselves. He was our guide through the madness, and his legacy isn't just in platinum records or Rock and Roll Hall of Fame plaques. It's in every kid who ever picked up a guitar, every kid who refused to conform, every kid who still believes in the power of metal. So tonight, light a candle, crack a beer, and play Diary of a Madman. That one there's for you, Mike Lawrence. At ear-bleeding volume. Ozzy may have left this mortal coil, but his spirit lives on in every cranked amp every devil-horned hand thrust into the air, and every howl into the night. Rest in peace, you glorious, crazy-ass legend. The world was never quiet with you in it, and it certainly won't be the same without you in it either. Like his favorite refrain to the crowd during his live shows throughout his entire career, I love you all. Well, we can't possibly thank you for everything you have done for this incredible genre of music we enjoy, so I will just say this. We love you too, you crazy bastard. Rest in peace, in the knowledge that as long as there is heavy metal music, you will never be forgotten.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah, that one there was a little rough.
Yeah. I really couldn't say anything as eloquently as you typed it up in that eulogy, to be honest. Ozzy was never my favorite musician or anything, but his impact on the world of heavy metal was completely undeniable. And there were certainly songs that I enjoyed. But again, I didn't grow up in the same area you did, and I wasn't exposed to him at the same time you were. So while I've always respected him and enjoyed his antics, he didn't have the same impact on me as he did for you and many others. And I think
it's definitely an age thing.
Yeah,
definitely an age
I know
thing.
that a lot of people were really hurting when he passed away. And I mean, it's really a testament to him that he waited until his final concert. It's almost like he knew he was saying his goodbye. He did it, and then he was ready to go.
Yeah, that just made it even more like you saw that final concert, and it was fucking amazing. It was like as much as you're going to get as a giant love fest for a metal show. And just everybody there. And then when you hear the stories about him refusing to take his, pain meds because they dulled his senses and he wanted to be clear one last time. As you hear all the fucking stories and you see a lot of the backstage photos, like there's this one photo that I saw, and I mean, Sharon has never been one of my favorite people, but you saw her sitting on the ground, leaned up against a stack of amps. Mm-hmm. And you can tell she's just looking at him.
Yeah. I saw that picture too.
Yeah.
No, it was an amazing tribute to him and by him that entire last concert. So many musicians came out to show him that they loved him, and he got to say I love you all one final time. So it was definitely an amazing thing. And if you haven't seen the concert, I highly recommend checking it out. There was some incredible moments. I think most of it's up on YouTube now.
Well, I'm sure they're going to be releasing that as some sort of fucking DVD or whatever, and I'll definitely be buying it.
They're actually going to be doing a movie theater version. It's going to be like a 4-hour long concert movie that they're going to be screening in the theaters. I'm not sure when it's releasing, but it's sometime early next year, I think. So that should be cool.
That'd be cool. That'd be awesome. And then all the money for that show, $190 million, went to animal shelters in his hometown. Yeah. That's fucking awesome. That is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move into what has been the weirdest the weirdest 2 weeks of the year so far. Probably the weirdest 2 weeks of the show so far, music-wise. Week 1 was pretty good. Like, there was a lot of, like, good to great albums. Week 2, there was absolutely nothing.
It was rough sledding. It was rough sledding the second two.
Not that there wasn't albums released. There was like 40 albums that came out week 2. I found
a couple,
that I thought were maybe honorable mention worthy. But I mean, I've only got 3 honorable mentions this episode, and I think Christian only has like 7.
Yeah, that kind of tells you something.
Yeah,
I mean, you have to bear in mind, I also go through power metal, traditional metal, and this is all stuff Justin does not, and I still could only find 7.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. So, I mean, I told Christian what my 3 picks were going to be, and then a few days later, he told me what his 3 picks were going to be, and I could have guessed what your 3 were going to be because those were the 6 best albums, hands down. Yeah. So there wasn't a ton of.
And I will freely admit, even the 6 we've picked, they are the best of this round, but they also have a few issues.
Every single one of them has flaws of some sort, except maybe for the Abigail Williams album. But we'll go through them as we normally do. The tracks we picked are all the best tracks, so I mean it's going to be great musically if you're listening to the show. But every album does have some flaws. We'll talk about them. Let's start out with Christian's first pick, Oskoreien.
Yeah. We have Oskoreien with the album Hollow Fangs. We have Mellow Black from Los Angeles, California. This is their third full-length album. They are unsigned. The track that I picked is To Kiss the Viper's Fang, and it's just because this is the best representation of what all 5 tracks kind of showcase. I checked out their other 2 albums, and apparently this is Jay Valena, the main man responsible for this band until this year, when Rashid Najib joined him on guitars. Now, whether he had a hand in writing this new album, I have no idea, because this guy was a one-man project up until this year. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure if he had anything to do with this or not, because it does say he just joined this year. I think the words that I would mainly use to describe this album is probably immersive and, a little bit haunting. There's such a great use of atmosphere throughout this album, and that's what gives you that overall, almost like horror show kind of vibe to it. Mm-hmm. And if you like your black metal atmospheric and bleak, this band's going to have you covered. So if you like this song that I picked, you will like the whole album. And like I said, there's only 5 songs on this, so the tracks are kind of long. But yeah, he does a really good job of adding all the atmosphere in there. So
I think the songwriting on this is brilliant. The production is a little bit thin, and there are some tracks that are unnecessarily long, but the tracks that are a little more succinct, like the one we're going to play, even though it's a long track, there's not a lot of wasted moments in this track. And it's kind of a weird mixture of like the classic black metal sound with a lot of like headbanging kind of music, lots of riffs, with very epic atmospheric feels as well. And I would even call it progressive in places, because it does flow from one kind of sound to another in various songs. I really enjoyed this a lot. It's not perfect, but it's like a 8.5 out of 10 for a 5-track album. It really doesn't get a whole lot better. So I liked this one. Hopefully you guys will too.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and play the track. It's Oskoreien off of their album Hollow Fangs. And the track that Christian picked is To Kiss the Viper's Fang. Yeah, that song really does kind of have everything. I think that's the best track on the album for sure. You know, it's got that, like I said, that headbanging riff in the beginning, and then it has those beautiful kind of flowery epic parts in the middle, and then it just kind of circles back around. So
and it keeps you fully engaged the entire time. Like when we're talking about unnecessary length, that's when you have a section in your song that you're like, well, why is this here?
Right. And there's not a lot of them. It's only five. It's only five songs. So there's only like two of them that have those kind of moments. But like I said, 8.5 out of 10. It's a very strong album, just with like a few things that hold it back from being a little bit higher.
And just so you know, those few moments, they're like 20 seconds. I mean, it's not but it's enough to make you wonder. And like when you go through this many albums and you're looking for the best, those are the things you look at.
Yeah, so, we have to be critical. It's the job.
If not, we're going to have 40 honorable mentions every week. So.
Yeah, very true. All right, well, moving on to my first pick of the episode. This is the band Recorruptor. They put out an album called Sorrow Will Drown Us All. Love that title. This is death metal with a lot of melody, some deathcore elements, although I think their older stuff was a lot more deathcore focused than this one seems to be. There's a lot more death metal, like straight death metal in this, tons of riffs. This is their third full-length album since 2013. They're from Michigan, currently unsigned. One of the things I really enjoy about this is the two vocal stylings. They have like those guttural, not really guttural, but they have like the death metal growls that you expect. Yeah. But they also have that high-pitched kind of, I always say Travis Ryan sort of sound, but they have that Travis Ryan sort of high-pitched, throaty kind of sound as well. And I've grown to really appreciate. Yeah. Well, it's not really a screech because I think black metal is more like a screech sound for a lot of bands. I think it's like a throaty, high-pitched growl. I don't really know how to describe it, but you'll hear it in the song. Anyways, I love the dueling vocal styles. It works really well, and it keeps things interesting from track to track. The melodies throughout are a lot of fun. The riffs are a lot of fun. This is probably the most consistent album from song to song that we found this episode. I will say that it becomes a little bit overbearing as you get to the end. It's not as tedious as something like the Shadow of Intent album, but you know, it is, I think, 15 tracks, and probably by the time you get to like track 12, it's lost a little bit of its vigor. You know, it is an album that's fun to listen to over and over again. I've probably heard it 20 times, but it does get a little bit tedious as you get towards the end. So that's really the only negative thing I could say about it.
For me, I absolutely positively love this album. You know, we've been championing this new fun death metal style that, it's just definitely made death metal, for lack of a better term, fun again. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's added just that little extra dimension, which I appreciate. So I really like this as well. But like you said, it does, like if you're active listening, it does become tedious. If it's in the background, it just flies by. But your mileage may vary. I dug it, but like the same as you, by the time I got to like track 12, I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah. And not that they were bad.
No, it's not. I mean, if you're
just starting to get tired.
If you start on track 6, you can make it through the rest of the album and be like, oh, these are all fantastic songs. Yep. It's just the length, you know. It's just maybe they should have saved 2 songs for the next album, but it's really good overall. So I hope you guys enjoy the track I picked, which is called Insidious Rot. I did think this was one of the more fun tracks on the album, probably a good way to highlight things because it kind of showcases everything they do. But there's a lot of diversity in the album. There's a lot of different melodies and different song structures. So if you like this, I think you'll benefit from checking the whole thing out. Again, that was Recorruptor playing Insidious Rot. And I really love that song.
and just so people know, it almost sounds like we're kind of shitting on stuff this episode, but we're really not. These are actually really, really, really good. Like this Recorruptor album, this will be continued to listen to going forward. I really
ordered it on vinyl.
Album,
I mean, I liked it enough to buy it. So I mean, it's a good album. Is it as good as some other stuff we've heard this year? Probably not. But
no,
it's still fantastic, and I think people will like it. So.
We just want y'all, the listeners, to realize that we're not just everything is fucking the greatest album ever.
Right.
It's not. We
try to be honest.
Definitely degrees. So that brings me to Abyssery, the album Interminable End. We have death metal from Dublin, Ireland. This is their debut, and they are unsigned. And I have my notes here. WTF, what the fuck? This is a debut? This seriously sounds like a band that has been honing their hand at death metal for a decade. They've only been together for 2 years. This
I know, it's
insane.
crazy.
I mean, we've talked a lot about fun death metal, but I think this could very well be one of the very best traditional death metal albums of the year. At the very least, it deserves to be in the discussion. Easily the best use of atmosphere of any death metal album I've heard this year, for me personally. I mean, this is death metal that may get you sweating just by listening to it. You could probably make this your new workout, just listen to this album. This is a solid album.
It has an intensity to it that just doesn't really let up. I completely agree. It's not fun death metal like we've been talking about.
No.
It's classic kind of death metal. And I really enjoyed it a lot, too. I think it's a great album.
Yeah, fantastic. And the track that I picked is also the title track, Interminable End. And it's the main reason I picked it. It's just the grooves and the killer riffs. You know, all I can say is yes, please. Everything about this song is like, fuck yeah. This is some really, really damn good death metal. I'd be shocked if you're a death metal fan if you do not like this.
Yeah, me too. 100%. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and play the track again. This is Abyssery off of their new album, Interminable End, and the track is also called Interminable End. I say it every time, but there's always at least one album that when you listen to a song like that, you just want to go back and listen to the whole album again. And this is one of them.
Yeah, and I do like that groovy kind of riffing that, yeah. If you're doing it well, I'm going to be 100% in.
Yeah, me too.
And this works.
All right, well, moving on to my second pick for the episode. As I mentioned before, Abigail Williams put out a new album called A Void Within Existence. So this is atmospheric / melodic black metal. They used to be more of a symphonic black metal band, and there are still a few of those elements in here, but it's not as prominent as it used to be. These guys are from Washington. It's their 6th full-length album since 2004. So this album is very tight. There's no bloat whatsoever. Very, very sculpted songwriting. And, the first, I think it's 7 tracks total. The first 6 tracks are all atmospheric, melodic black metal, exactly what you're looking for when you're looking for that kind of genre. And then the last track is much more of like a softer, doomy style with some clean singing and stuff, but it flows really well from one thing to the next. The songs obviously are meant to work together. And typically that last track is not something I would seek out, but I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really pretty, and I thought it felt like it belonged, like it was part of the whole. So this is an album that I've listened to probably 25, 30 times since it came out. Really couldn't get enough of it. And, before this, I was never like a massive fan of Abigail Williams. Like I'd listen to their other stuff and I was like, oh, that's a pretty good album, but it would end up just outside of my best of list for the year usually. This one, it might be a contender. I've listened to it so much that I've really grown fond of it. So if you like atmospheric and melodic black metal, I think you'll appreciate this completely.
Yeah, this here album was really weird for me because I feel like I should like this way more than I do. And like I was just talking about how like if you're actively listening, that last album will become kind of tedious. Well, this here has the opposite effect where if I'm actively listening, I absolutely adore this album. It's just fantastic. Everything about it. I mean, the production, the song structure, the riffs, the leads, everything about it everything seems like it 100% has its place. And then if I'm doing something else, I don't remember a damn thing that I just heard. If I'm doing anything else, folding laundry, whatever, it doesn't matter. It just goes completely out of my head. I'm not exactly sure why that is, because this is really good. The only thing that I could think is that it almost feels too polished.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know how to describe it, but I'm going to be spending some more time with this. It's definitely, it's going to be in my rotating playlist for probably quite a while. So I'll definitely be checking back in, but yeah, I'm not sure why I didn't connect with this one, but
I completely,
we're all different. So
I understand because I've honestly felt that way about most of their albums as they've come out and I've heard them. I've been like, this is so much better than I'm actually appreciating it for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 2 of the guys from Veil of Panath are in the band and they're in a ton of other bands too. I don't really know if they write all the songs or not, but they have a pedigree to them. And the other people in the band are in a ton of bands as well. Just Veil of Panath is one of my favorites now. So it was easy to pick that out. Yeah. The songwriting is always fantastic. The production is always fantastic. And I don't know if it's a too polished effect like you're talking about that makes it not great for listening while you're doing other things. But I've had a similar experience with all of their previous albums. This particular one, I've spent a lot more time actively listening to than I have their previous ones. And I think maybe that is why I have a higher appreciation for it. Because same thing, I think if I was doing other things while listening, it probably wouldn't have the same impact. That's what's happened on their previous albums for me. So it's an interesting effect, I guess.
Yeah. But I mean, it is absolutely fantastic album that I couldn't possibly ask for anything more. And so that's why I'm like so nonplussed over this. Like, why am I not falling all over myself trying to order this on vinyl and shit?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, like sometimes that happens though, like the Cerasis album from last episode. It's a really good album. You obviously loved it. You said that the album was like so far in my wheelhouse, like it would be crazy if I didn't love it too. And I like it. I like it a lot, but it didn't grab hold of me in a way that some other ones do. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like sometimes things just don't click, even if on paper they're like perfect.
Yeah. And I mean, I can definitely attest that this album is brilliant. It's a brilliant fucking album. So yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and play the track. The one that I picked is Talk to Your Sleep. This is kind of a long track, but I feel like it's the best one on the album, and it's the best one to highlight everything. So hopefully you guys don't mind listening to a 7-minute song, because we've got 2 of them on this episode. But anyways, hope you enjoy. Again, Abigail Williams from A Void Within Existence, and the track is Talk to Your Sleep. Such a beautiful song.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, active listening. Great.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's move on. My last pick of the episode is going to be the band Jordfast. And
I'm going to let you do it.
Swedish people, I apologize in advance. If there's anybody Swedish listening, I truly do apologize. The album is called Blood's Dad Hor. We have black metal from Skåne, Sweden. This is their third album. They are on Black Lion Records, so there's some pedigree here. And the track that I picked, Dit Gudarna Trailar R Part 2. So
that's pretty good.
I'm gonna guess. And again, completely apologize. Alrighty, well, I'm a sucker for, some killer black metal with great atmosphere, and this has that in spades. The guitar work on this album alone is worth the price of admission. I mean, we're talking not just good guitar work for black metal. This would be good guitar work for like power metal. This would be good guitar work for traditional, or I wouldn't go so far as progressive, but it's knocking on the door. This guy knows how to play a fucking guitar, and I don't think I've ever heard this amount of intricate guitar solo work on a black metal album. You usually don't get that. And I have no idea what these lyrics are actually talking about, but the tone switches back and forth between a palpable sense of melancholy and just furious anger. I mean, like, seriously fucking anger. My luck, someone will tell me all the lyrics are all about fairies and rainbows, and I will be completely
somehow
okay.
I doubt it.
And
it seems like a bleak album.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, this album, like you said, it feels bleak and it feels epic. Like, this is more than just mere music for this guy. Like, there is a deeper meaning involved here. Again, could be just because I don't speak Swedish. So, I mean, he could be talking about rainbows. I don't know. But whatever he's talking about, he is very serious about it, and he wants you to know just how serious he is about it. And the weird thing about this album, I will say, is you definitely have to listen to it in order. So this is going to sound kind of weird because a lot of the tracks are, part 1, then part 2, part 3. And I think there's 3 different songs, and they all have different parts.
Yeah.
So it does. And this is one of the few albums that I've ever heard where it definitely sounds like, all right, that is a part 2, because the last song kind of leads into it, and then it leads into part 3. And it's very obvious when it happens. But I feel like this song is just a perfect example of what you're going to hear on here. There's, the guitars that I was talking about are highlighted here. So, yeah, this is a great album. Absolutely great album.
Yeah, I love it too. One thing you didn't say that you and I both talked about is how catchy it is. There's a lot of really memorable riffs in this thing that will stick with you long after you've heard them. I listened to this, 15, 20 times. There was one album I listened to more, and I know you have a different opinion on it than I do, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But this was definitely the second strongest album of the episode, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And if you like black metal, kind of in the vein of Natverd, you'll really enjoy this. I mean, that was the closest comparison both of us could come up with, is that it sounds somewhat similar to that Natverd album we heard earlier this year that's in both of our top 5s currently. So, I mean, it's pretty high praise. It's a very, very good black metal album. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Anyways, let's go ahead and play the track. Now it's my turn to try to butcher this. Jordfast off the album Blodsdad Okhor. And the track that Christian picked is Dit Gudarna Tralar R Part 2. Close enough.
Awesome.
Lidande och ingen
Yeah, that's a great song, man.
Hopefully we didn't just call somebody's grandmother a whore, because that would...
I mean, maybe that's the translation, rainbows are whores. I don't know. I didn't do the translate thing. I normally do. So I don't know what these say.
Yeah, who knows?
All right. Well, moving on to my number one pick for the episode, and I know Christian has a slightly different opinion of it. The band Baal, B-A''A'-L, put out an album called The Fine Line Between Heaven and Here. This is black/sludge/post-metal from the UK. Their second full-length album since 2020. This is some emotionally charged music from beginning to end that grabbed me from the first time I heard it and would not let go. I've heard this album 40 times now, maybe more. Can't really get enough of it. When I first heard it, I really didn't know how to feel about the album because 95% of it is incredible songwriting with great black metal vocals, and then 5%, the worst clean vocals you've ever heard, horribly, horribly produced. And so I liked the rest of the album so much that I forced myself to appreciate the cleans. But, even still when I hear them, I'm just like, why is this part not better? I mean, I'm not even exaggerating at all. Like 95% of this is album of the year quality, in my opinion. It's just those 5% clean vocals are holding it back tremendously. It's beautiful. The songs are long, which I know may not be everybody's cup of tea. But for me, I love long songs if they're not feeling bloated, and this doesn't really feel bloated. There's a purpose to every moment in every song. So much emotion. And as I've mentioned before on the show many, many times, I love emotionally driven music, and I don't think I've heard an album this emotionally driven since Gary is Coma last year. This is the strongest emotional album I've heard so far this year for sure. I can't get enough of it. Like, I'm addicted to this album. I really want people to listen to the song I picked. The one I picked is Floral Cairn, which is again a 7-minute song. It highlights the emotion, the atmosphere building, the black metal. It also has a little bit of the cleans in it, so you'll see what I'm talking about. And it's weird too, because the cleans, not only are they not great vocally, but it almost seems like they turned down the microphone and produced it really poorly too when he's clean singing. It's just echoey and it sounds super shitty compared to the rest of the album. It's just a weird choice, a very weird choice. But like I said, I like the rest of it so much that I've developed kind of an awkward appreciation for it, but it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. So, Christian, what are your thoughts on the album?
Well, this is easily the heaviest slow album of black metal I think I've ever heard. I mean, this thing feels dense, like weighted blanket dense with a 400-pound guy sitting on top of you. And I think, honestly, I can appreciate everything that's going on here. And like you, those cleans are horrific. They are so bad. I could say how many different things that they could have done there, but yeah, whatever. But it's the slowness. I appreciate it for what it is, but I have a problem with slow music, and this album just felt really slow to me, almost like a Doom album. So it didn't click with me. I can definitely see the emotion in this, and you can definitely feel the weight that the guy is bringing to this music. I mean, this guy, Jesus, somebody may want to do a welfare check on this guy. So that's what it is for me. It's just a little too slow.
That's fair. I mean, typically I'm not really drawn to the slower side of things either. I'm not a huge fan of Doom music, but this, it's just that sweet spot for me. Like it's exactly the pacing that it can be before it becomes too slow for me. And the black metal vocals are so perfectly done, and the blending of it all works incredibly well. I love it. So
it could very well be your life has been a little rough over the last couple of weeks. And this could just be, that just hits you just at the right time. One of those kind of albums.
That's definitely possible.
That's how that Gary album last year, because my mom had just passed, and that album just fit perfectly for that. So it could just be one of those too. You never know. Music does affect you depending on what's happening. So
that's very true. but I think people that appreciate slightly slower music will like it regardless. Although maybe not the cleans. But anyways, let's go ahead and play the track. Again, this is Bale off of their album The Fine Line Between Heaven and Here, and the track that I picked is Floral Cairn. God, I love that song. I do. There are a couple that I like even more than that song that I would have picked, but I didn't feel like we could play a 13-minute track on the episode. So I had to go with the shortest one on the album. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And if you liked it at all, I highly recommend checking out the full album. It's very, very good, aside from the cleans. So, all right, let's go ahead and move into our honorable mentions, which is going to be much shorter than it typically is, but I'll let Christian go first.
Yep. All right, we will start out with a band called Dargle, Darghl, an album called Coagula. We have black metal from Norway. This is his 8th album in 2 years. Now, he's unsigned. I don't know what's going on here. It shows that there's been a full band with this release, but not the previous ones. So I get a little nervous whenever I run across albums where this person has 8 albums in 2 years, because is this, we got to think about it now. Is this AI, or is this guy just that prolific? Because these are not short albums either. But if this is legit, this is definitely worth an honorable mention, because this is excellent. So take it for what it is. And this here is for fans of the early version of Ulver, maybe a little bit of Mortuary Drape, or the black metal band Taake, Taake. Is that Take or Talk?
I think it's Take.
I don't know. Take. All right, so we'll just move on from there. We have Motor Jesus, Streets of Fire. We have heavy hard rock from Mönchengladbach in Germany. I have spent a lot of time in Mönchengladbach. This is their 7th album, and apparently they're slackers, because 7 albums in like 15 years. Really? What are y'all doing with your lives? This is on Reaper Entertainment. This is for fans of, if you were to mix Saxon with Accept, add in a little bit of Alabama Thunder Pussy with a pinch of Rise Against. You mix all those things together, you're gonna hear a little bit of that. It's more of a classic thing, but you definitely hear a punk vibe to it here and there. So I like this so much, I actually purchased the vinyl. So
I didn't even hear that one. I did hear the Dargle album. I thought the Dargle album was pretty good. Not to circle back, but I was coughing when you were talking about it.
Yeah.
It just. I think when you put out 8 albums in 2 years, like, you don't really leave yourself a lot of time to edit. And so some of the songs could have benefited from some editing.
Yeah.
So that was my take on the Dargle album, but it was pretty good overall.
Yeah, this Motor Jesus album, I think you may even like it, because they have that party rock kind of vocals. They're not super clean, more in the AC/DC vibe kind of thing. That kind of
I'll check it out.
thing going on. Then we have Blood Ride, the album Deafening. We have thrash metal from Helsinki, Finland. This is their 5th album, and they are on Wormhole Death. This is for fans of, if you mixed in a bit of Sepultura, a bit of Pantera, a bit of Machine Head, and a bit of Exorder all in a blender, you're going to get Blood Ride. Then we have Shade Crown. I don't know if this is 0 or
it's
O.
0. It's 0.
Is it? We have Mellow Death / Doom, which is kind of odd, from Vintasari, Finland. This is their 4th album on Inverse Records. If you like Insomnium, Omnium Gatherum, or Swallow the Sun, more the first 2 than the last one. It's not as slow as Swallow the Sun.
It actually kind of reminded me of the Wormian album, Antoine's latest that came out.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
It definitely has a little bit of that feel to it. Then we Atomic Witch, Death Etiquette. We have thrash / death metal from Cleveland, Ohio. Their 2nd album from Redefining Darkness. If you like Skeleton Witch, Witchery, Ex Mortem, you're going to like this. I will say, caveat here, the vocals are not easy. I'm not a big fan of the vocals on this, but your mileage may vary. Then, one of the albums that I really, really came back to a lot this week, the album Crimson Shadows, Whispers of War. We have Mellow Death / Power Metal from Toronto, Canada. This is their 3rd album on Napalm Records. If this sounds interesting to you, if you were to mix Twilight Force with Colma, or Norther with Stradivarius, or Sonata Arctica with Winter Sun, you're going to get what this band does. The cleans on here, they're not just like, oh, well, this death metal band is doing some power metal cleans. No, these are legit, really, really well done vocals. Like, this guy could easily pick any of those power metal bands I just named. He could easily step in and do do vocals for him. So that's why this really stood out to me, because a lot of times when you mix these two styles together, usually the cleans are kind of lacking. They're there for icing, I guess, and it kind of makes you wonder why they even bother. But this is not the case on here. These are fantastic death metal vocals and fantastic power metal vocals mixed together, and it actually kind of works. Then finally, the band Bloodletter, Leave the Light Behind. We have thrash metal from Chicago. Their fourth album from Wise Blood Records. And again, Skeleton Witch, Ex Mortis, Gamma Bomb. And again, vocals here. This guy sounds a lot like Mark Oskoreien from Death Angel. Maybe not as clean as Mark can get in the way he enunciates, I guess. But yeah, these sound like a young Mark Oskoreien. Let's just put it that way. Like back in the day, Mark Oskoreien. So if that sounds interesting, this was really, really close to being a pick.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised it wasn't for you.
It just had a little bit of bloat, but yeah, it is what it is. And that's all I had, which is a much shorter list than I usually do. So
yeah, I mean, my list is only 3 albums, so I can relate. But first up for me is a band called Abowth, Abowth. They put out an album called Drowning Souls, atmospheric black metal from Canada. It's very lo-fi in the production, so it may not be for everyone, but I like that lo-fi sound, and it worked really well for me. I've been hearing a lot of like lo-fi mellow black, but not really a whole lot of lo-fi atmo black, and it's a totally different feeling. It feels, I don't know, it feels like a warm blanket to me. So I really liked this. I would highly recommend checking it out. It's their debut album, solo project. He's only been making music since 2024, so this is a great debut. Really can't imagine they're not going to improve as time goes by. So highly recommend checking that out. Next is the band Beheaded. They put out an album called Gadam, Ghadam, brutal death metal from Malta. Their 7th full length since 1995. You know, brutal death metal is one of those things that if it's not diverse, I get tired of it real quick. This one's full of diversity, so there's a lot to appreciate here. I mean, this is their 7th album, so they've obviously been doing this for a long time. And the vocalist actually is in a ton of other bands, so he has a lot of experience doing things outside of brutal death metal, so he can add a lot of variety, highs and lows. It's not all just gutturals throughout. So I really liked this. If you like brutal death metal with variety, can't go wrong. And then finally, the band Sorcerot put out an album called Rotten Magic, Magick. This is heavy / black metal from Ohio, their debut album since 2023. Now, normally I'm not a fan of classic heavy metal. It's not really my thing. The black metal side, obviously, I enjoy. But this album kind of hits that sweet spot. It's a lot of like the music stylings of heavy metal with black metal vocals throughout most of it. There are some moments of clean singing that fit classic heavy metal, but I like the guy's voice, so I'm not turned off by it. This is an album I probably listened to 5-6 times. Not my favorite of the year by any means, because it's not really a genre I'm super drawn to, but I was surprised that I liked it as much as I did. And I think if you're somebody who actually really likes heavy metal and black metal, you'll absolutely love this. So, did you hear that one, Christian?
I must have missed that one. I don't recall any of this.
I thought so this would be on your list too. You would absolutely dig this. You need to add it to your list to check it out.
I will. I definitely will.
And that's
seems
all
right up my alley.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't hear it.
Huh.
Things slip through the cracks. That's how it is.
Yeah, sometimes.
All right. Well, that does it for honorable mentions. Let's move on to our topic. So I called the episode Do Better, but really what we're going to talk about is things that irritate us both in music and at concerts, really just pet peeves that Christian and I both have, things that we feel that bands could do better, things that we feel that people could do better. Christian, what was your impetus for picking this as your topic?
Well, heavy metal fans are, some of the most passionate and opinionated music lovers out there. And over the years, there's been recurring complaints that have emerged, and, people talk about their biggest pet peeves that metalheads frequently gripe about. And, I did some searching because everybody has their little thing that probably bothers them. But here are some of the ones that I came across that I I don't see as an issue, but others do. Like people will talk about overproduction on modern albums or, bands, quote, selling out. That's bullshit. What is and what isn't false metal or bad live performances, because that's completely up to interpretation. This band or that band has recycled riffs, constantly saying AC/DC hasn't released a new album since Back in Black. Yeah, kind of, sort of, maybe. Or merch or ticket prices, people complaining about that, although I do have something about that. Trend hopping, cringy lyrics. Oh, this band or that band changed vocalists, now I don't like them anymore, Or the debate that annoys me more than anything is this band X or that band X, are they really metal? They're metal if you think they're metal. That's all that matters. So, like, that isn't what I was really talking about. I meant things that more like me, like I'm sure anybody that's listened to this show for more than one episode will probably understand that I do not like intros.
You and me both.
I have a serious problem with intros. And, I can't say that, like, oh, if it's got an intro, you automatically lose some cred in my book. No, that's not it. You can do a well-done intro. It shouldn't really be more than a minute, and it should lead into your first song. It shouldn't be like completely different than the rest of your album.
Right.
Then it just seems like you're doing it because everybody does intros. I don't know. So that's definitely one. But, like I had, and this has become a thing since I've been doing this show. Don't purposely misspell your fucking name. That's such a terrible idea. If you want people to listen to your stuff, make it easy for them to find it. By purposely misspelling your name, or like you're using an actual word, but you're purposely misspelling it by adding V's into it. That's going to make it difficult to find. That just should not be a thing that you should do. What are some of the ones you got?
Well, intro tracks are definitely a big one for me. I don't completely hate them because there are some that are really well done. And we've talked about good ones and bad ones on the show. But there's way more bad ones than there are good ones. And you're right. They should be a length of about 1 minute, maybe a minute and a half at the very most. There's no reason to have like 5 minutes of shuffling through the forest, kicking leaves around.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
But, if they're well done and they flow and they change and they're interesting, and then they, lead right into track 2, and track 2 is a continuation of the same piece of music, it just explodes. Fuck yeah, I love that. It's great. But a lot of the time they serve no purpose. They're just like ambient melody, or it's just some random keyboard thing that they wrote that they didn't have a place for, or just some bullshit like wandering through the forest. Like I just said, I hate that. I absolutely hate it. Yeah. We listen to so many albums, and then we have to waste 3 minutes listening to nothing before you actually get to the music. It's a huge pet peeve for me, and it does usually impact my score when I'm reviewing an album if it doesn't contribute anything to it. So unless your intro is doing something interesting or serving some sort of purpose, just don't include it. Go straight into the music. Next one is obviously clean singing. I don't hate all clean singing. I just hate clean singing that's poorly done or doesn't fit the style of music you're doing, especially male vocalists who do overly pretty clean singing. I don't have a problem with men doing cleans, but I'm gonna kind of pick on a band, even though I like most of what the band does. Kardashev. They put out an album this year. It's a fantastic album, but those overly pretty, flowery cleans that are in some of the songs that are almost kind of operatic sounding for the male vocal, it's a huge turnoff for me. Like I hear it and I'm just like, I can't. Even though I love 80% of the rest of the album, it's not going to make my end of year list simply because of those cleans. And that's really the case for a lot of bands that do that sort of thing. I recently heard an Abstracted Illusion album that's coming out soon. There's a lot of that sort of flowery, clean singing on there. I think that most of the album is top 10 quality material. It's just those cleans. I can't gel with them because they're too pretty. I also don't like the high-pitched, classic heavy metal style cleans either, but that's just personal preference. And a lot of people do, so I'm obviously wrong.
Yeah.
It's just my personal taste. But when you're listening to a black metal album or a death metal album, and they're adding in cleans, and then it's not just a guy singing, it's a guy trying to sing like an opera singer. It's cringy to me. Like I hate it so much. You get what I'm talking about?
Especially because it rarely ever fucking works. Usually the guy can't pull that off, or it's just so far out of what you were just doing that it sounds out of place. And it just takes you out of the song when you do that.
There's no denying that the guy from Kardashev can sing that beautiful operatic kind of singing. Like it's incredible that he can sing like that, but it just seems so out of place in the music that it negatively affects my enjoyment of the music, because I like everything else that's going on.
It feels like somebody just splashed water on you. Like it's just a shocking kind of like, ugh. And I mean, eventually, that won't bother you with repeated listens. I'm sure you'll just grow to like it if you like everything else, obviously. But yeah, I definitely feel you there. But yeah, I'm a failed musician. So I'm sitting here trying to tell people what to do. And I don't know. I do listen to a lot of music. And I am a member of several 12-step programs, I guess.
I mean,
Stuart Smalley of heavy metal here. So
I think you're discounting your credibility a little bit, Christian. I mean, there's not a lot of people out there that listen to the quantity of music that we listen to. Even in our friend groups. I mean, we have a ton of other metal podcaster, metal YouTuber friends and stuff like that. They don't listen to what we listen to. Nowhere close. I know one guy does.
Yeah.
But in general, it's like a full-time job listening to as much music as we do. And I think anything that you consume that much of, you sort of become an expert on it. I mean, we may not be able to write music, we may not be able to perform music, but we certainly can evaluate it and say what's good and what's not, and at least to our own personal tastes. And I mean, we can look at things objectively and technically and talk about the pieces that work and the pieces that don't. And I feel like our opinions are valid because we've put in the work. That said, everybody's opinions are going to be different, and we do a good job of always say, it may not be for me, but it might be for somebody else. We try not to disparage stuff. So I just wanted to say all that.
Yeah.
As far as other pet peeves, I really don't like formulaic song structures. We've talked before about metalcore and how a lot of the time it's just like the same formulaic songwriting in every single song. It gets tedious. It gets boring very quickly to me. I'm sure you have the same issue.
Oh, yeah. And to go a step further, and I mean, I understand why musicians do this, but if they're like in 9 different bands and 7 of them are very similar, that just, I don't know why you're doing that. I think you're just spreading yourself out way too thin. And maybe if you focused on, 1 or 2 bands, those bands would actually go somewhere because your focus would be on that. I don't know. If you're in 8 different death metal bands and you're spreading all your good songs between those, well, you have 8 subpar death metal bands now instead of maybe 1 good one. So that annoys me. Or like what you were talking about earlier, I have this in my notes, purposely done lo-fi production. Don't purposely do it. I mean, come on. I guess it's a stylistic choice, but that takes me out every fucking time. If you're doing it on purpose, because if there's sections of it that are done that way and then the rest of the album sounds perfect, yeah, that's
weird.
The shit out of me.
Yeah, I can't stand it when they do both. Like when some of the album's polished and some of the album's lo-fi, it's very jarring to your ear. And I've heard a few like dungeon synth and like raw black metal kind of projects that have done that, and I don't really understand what they're going for with that sound. See, I don't mind the lo-fi production sometimes. There's a lot of bands that do melodic black metal or atmospheric black metal that do that lo-fi kind of sound, and I like it. I mean, it works. I don't want it to sound raw like it was recorded on a Hello Kitty boombox, but I do want it. I mean, I'm okay with it sounding a little bit less polished, a little thin, if you will, because it can add something to the sound. But I get why you don't like it. And I also think that we're in a modern age where the technology is just so easy to use that there's really not a need for it, unless it is a stylistic choice. It's weird when you hear a band that clearly has the tools and just chooses not to use them. So I don't know. It's interesting, but I think that's more of a personal taste thing than anything.
Yeah, I don't know how many more you got. One of the biggest things that have annoyed me lately is Varg apologists. Yeah, he's a Nazi, but no, there's no but. If you're a Nazi, you're a fucking Nazi, all right? No, we're done here. This whole separating art from artist thing is very, 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 very fucking difficult for me. And the Nazi thing, that's a non-starter. Yeah, we're done. We're done.
Yeah, we were talking about this before the show. The art from the artist thing, I do think that there is places where you can separate the art from the artist. Like we talked about Lovecraft. You know, he grew up in the 1920s. He's a product of his time. Obviously, he was a huge racist, but so were a lot of people back then. It was a cultural norm. So I can forgive him for that because of his contribution to horror and sci-fi and the literature world, because he's, you know, a product of his era. And it's been 100 years since then. But if you're in 2025 and you're making hateful music about races of people, like there's just no reason for it. And I don't see any reason to support the Nazi bands. I can't do it. Even if the music is good, I won't promote them on the show. I won't talk about them. And some people will be like, oh, it's virtue signaling or whatever. I kind of hate that too. Like that's a pet peeve when you do take a stance against that kind of stuff and then people say you're virtue signaling or something. It's just, there's no reason for it. There's 100 new albums that come out every single Friday. I got 99 that aren't Nazis. Why would I promote the Nazi one? Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Those people don't need anybody's money.
And 9 times out of 10, it ain't good anyway.
I mean, the majority of them
I don't
are not
think
good.
I've ever run into one that I actually was like, oh fuck, this might be Nazi, but this is good. No,
Well,
this
I mean,
never once happened.
The reverse has happened. There have been bands that I've liked and then found out they were Nazis and been like, well, that fucking sucks. It's a huge pet peeve too, is like trying to just be a fan of black metal these days, because you never really know. Like you have to do a little bit of research on the bands you're listening to before you promote them. I mean, we had a band we were going to do as our extreme submission for this episode. And then at the very last minute before we started recording, I found out that, you know, they were Nazis. And I was like, well, shit, we can't promote them. So we went with somebody else. But I mean, it's wild. It's wild that there's still bands like that have a following in today's culture and atmosphere. And it's even crazier how defensive the people that like those bands are of them. There's a huge group of people on social media that are pro NSBM, and like Christian was saying, that, you know, they like that's the only true black metal because it's the only real hate-filled black metal. And I'm just like, when I listen to music, and the music I listen to, black metal, death metal, I want to hear evil as fuck sounding music, but I don't want the music to actually be evil. I just want it to sound evil. You know, so I hear bands like Null. That's a really good example. Their music sounds evil as fuck, but Jamie Eubanks is a super nice guy, and he's not, you know, not in any way associated with any of that hateful stuff. So, I mean, you can make really dark, evil sounding music without being an evil person yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the important part, because I don't think I've ever been to a live show where there's just a bunch of angry people there. We're all in this to have a good time. So like hatred for somebody just because they have a different skin pigmentation or something, well, you're a fucking idiot. You're just stupid. And I don't care to listen to any of that. No thanks. There's plenty of good music out there, you know, that doesn't do that. So I am completely fine. So yeah, definitely the Nazi thing is, yeah, we're completely done with that. I think about the only thing other thing that I have is, like I was mentioning earlier about overpriced tour merch. Now, overpriced tour merch, I'm going to say for big bands. I always wonder about that. Why are Iron Maiden t-shirts $65? I'm sure this giant venue, they have to rent it or whatever. I don't even know all that goes into this, but their merch is stupid expensive for a band that already has millions of dollars. So especially when I go to a local show and they're selling t-shirts for $20. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, even going a step further than that. Like I hate the whole price matching thing at concerts. Like if the headliner's charging $40 a shirt, then the openers have to charge $40 as well. That's absolute bullshit, because you're seeing a local band who, you just want to help support them because they're pretty good and they have a potential for a future. I don't mind tossing $20 their way to buy a shirt, but they're not worth $40 for a shirt yet. The headliner might be, but there's no reason I should be paying the same price, having to choose between buying a shirt for the headliner or buying a shirt from the small guy just because they're trying to charge the same amount. It's a crazy policy.
Yeah. And I think the only other thing on my list, and it's just become a proliferation over the last, I'm going to say, maybe last year or two, wondering now what's being made with AI and what isn't. That's becoming a thing, unfortunately. I guess you would know if, this band never goes on tour, ever.
Well, we never really talked about the Drogvale album. It was like a big meme. And,
See, and I still don't know what the deal is with that. Is it real?
So AI generated music has become like a big thing on Spotify. There's bands that have been broken up for years that release a new song. It just appears, and it's some AI generated music using the voice of whoever that band was. There's entire bands that are all AI that have gained tens of millions of followers on Spotify, and then after they've already made all that money, then people find out that they're AI. But it hadn't really been super pervasive in black metal, at least, until recently. There was an album put out by a band called Drogvale probably about a month and a half ago, and it's a picture of a guy in a suit of armor laying on a sideways pose on the ground surrounded by roses, and he's wearing black metal makeup. So people that are a keener eye than me realized that the AI was obviously used for the artwork on the album. And then people went even a step further and analyzed the music, because it's very lo-fi black metal, but it was full of melody and it was actually pretty good. It's a pretty good album. People evaluated the music and figured out exactly how it was created. They pinpointed the two programs that it was run through to generate the music, and they were able to recreate it on their own using the same prompts that were used to create the music. So there's video evidence that this is all AI musically. The vocals were actually sang by the guy who created the music. So there is some component of it that's real music, because he wrote and did the lyrics. I don't know if he wrote the lyrics. He may have AI generated them, but he sang the lyrics on this album. But everything else about it was AI. And of course, because of the cover photo, there was tons and tons of memes that came out. And it was actually a very funny and entertaining couple of weeks while people were talking about the album. But it's just, it snuck under a lot of people's radar. When I first heard it, I was like, oh, this is a pretty good album. And I put it in my honorable mentions list at the very least. But then we didn't even talk about it once I found out it was AI, because I didn't want to promote it. But it's crazy. It's crazy that that's a thing we're having to deal with these days, where unless experts do the work, you may not even know.
Yeah, it's shocking. Shocking.
Yeah. And I have one final pet peeve. This is concert related. I fucking hate people that vape at concerts. I don't want to be standing in a smoky room with a band up there playing and then fucking inhale your nasty ass cotton candy breath. It's not something I want. I don't know. I don't want to get popcorn lung or whatever. Like, I'm not a smoker. I've always detested smoking. My grandmother died from throat cancer. My grandfather died from lung cancer. I've never been a smoker, never enjoyed the aroma of cigarettes. Vaping's even worse. I don't want to smell bubblegum or cotton candy when I'm at a concert. I mean, it might smell better than some of the BO, but still, I don't want to smell it. So I absolutely hate that, but people aren't going to stop. I just wish that e-cigs were not allowed in venues, just like cigarettes aren't, personally.
I've been to a couple that they flat out say no vaping, but people still do it. And
people smoke weed too. I mean, I'm not a big pothead or anything, but like, if you're going to smoke weed, that doesn't really bother me as much as the vape.
Yeah. I think it's just, at least people smoking weed are usually kind of nice. I've noticed most of the people that are vaping are kind of douchebags. So,
that's true.
Because they seem to have that kind of thing going for them.
Well, that's all I've got. I'm sure there are more, but I couldn't think of any.
Yeah,
up to this.
I mean, you could go in the super annoying bit of the genre police. I mean, we talk about genre because we're trying to describe something, but let's just keep it simple. You don't need 43 different descriptive terms for what this or that is. So
Yeah.
There's tons of different things that we could talk about, but I think we've done enough.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on then to our pickups. Have you picked up anything cool recently, Christian?
Like I said earlier, I picked up that Motor Jesus album. That Lord Belial came in. The Helheim came in. I got notice that the In Flames Horacle album is, I think, on the way.
And my Amazon
Shipping
copy got
date.
delayed.
Yeah.
So.
And delivering today should be the last two Puterion albums. I picked them up
nice.
at Miami Metal Merchant, and they should be here today. But
Very
that's
cool.
all my pickups.
Well, I don't have that much. I ordered the Recorruptor album and the Bale album. They're not here yet. In Flames Horacle, I'm excited to get my hands on it, but like I said, my order got delayed. There was a couple of shows announced recently that I'm actually really excited about. If you remember about 10 episodes ago, 15 episodes ago, we had the boys from Bleak Barrow on. We interviewed them. We talked about their process and their upcoming stuff. They're actually playing their first couple of shows. So the first one's going to be in Houston at BFE Rock Club on August 22nd. So if you're in the Houston area and want to go support them, please do. I'm going to be there for sure because I love those dudes and I think it'll be a fun time. And then their second show is going to be August 29th at the 19th hole in Spring, which is only 12 minutes away from me. So I might actually go to both shows. But really excited for that and excited for their full album. Thomas has been sending me some clips of music they've been working on, and this thing's coming together really well. Everything sounds super cool, so I'm excited for that. And that's really all I've got. I've got a bunch of concerts coming up in the next couple of months, but I've already talked about most of them.
Yeah. I don't really have much going on.
Yeah, me neither.
Nothing imminent.
All right. Well, moving on to our extreme submission. So this one was emailed to me. It's the band Monstrum, Monstrom. They put out an album called Mental Demolition. It's really an EP more than an album, and it's actually their demo. It's their first release. They are death metal with some blackened elements from Germany. It's a two-piece band where the drummer is the vocalist, which is always interesting. And then it's pretty good. For a demo, it's got a lot of catchy riffs. The production is a little bit lo-fi. It could be a little more polished, but it's also a demo, so it's totally understandable, but the songwriting's excellent on all these songs. If you like what you hear on this track we're going to play at the end, which is called Beyond the Stars, I highly encourage you to seek out the full album on Spotify and give it a listen because these guys are brand new and the album came out July 28th, so not that long ago, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting things going on here. I could see a full-length album, flesh out some of these ideas a little bit more, a little bit better production, and yeah, they definitely have something here.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
And then last thing, just want to remind everybody to follow us on all of our social media. You can find us as @HarshVocalSite pretty much everywhere except for TikTok, where Christian's still running things, I think, or it's harsh_vocals. I don't know if you posted anything in a while.
It just stopped allowing me to post. I don't know what the hell the deal is. And every single time you put in some sort of request for like, hey, I want to talk to somebody, nobody ever gets back to you. I've sent them like 7 emails now, and nobody ever gets back to me. And I'll wait like a week or two and then try again, and no, nothing. I even tried to have my wife do it on her account. No. Yeah. I don't know
Weird.
what the hell the deal is.
Okay, well, don't worry about TikTok then. Just follow us everywhere else @HarshVocalSite. And with the submissions, if you're a band or if you're a listener of the show who has a band that you think we'd love that we haven't heard before, feel free to reach out. Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger, email, harshvocalsjc@gmail or harshvocalscr@gmail. Either one. We'll be happy to give it a listen and possibly play it on the show. So otherwise, we will see you guys in a couple weeks. The last track we're going to play is again Monstrum off of their Mental Demolition EP. And the track is called Beyond the Stars. We'll see you next time.
R.I.P. Ozzy.